Good evening. This is Darren Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. Transfiguring Adoption creates media and resources to foster and nurture growth and foster families. We also like to say that we nurture kids by giving a hoot about their caregivers. So I'm really excited tonight to have Elizabeth and Margie with me, and they're going to be talking to you about planning for successful holidays, because those of us that are caregivers know that the holidays can be an exciting time, but also maybe a conflicting time for the kiddos that are in our care. So they're both going to be talking to us about some of the things, and we're excited also to be answering your questions that you have on this topic. But before we get into that, just some ground rules. I just want everyone to know that we are doing this to help, to encourage them, to let them know that they are not alone in trying to help out kiddos. We're just trying to give advice and suggestions. However, these suggestions and advice, these are, we're not considering this to be legal or a replacement for medical advice or anything else. It's my long-winded way of saying, please don't sue us. We're trying to just help you. So use some common sense with the knowledge we're giving you, and don't go against your agency or doctor or anyone else that you're seeing professionally. So I also just wanted to let everyone know also that at the time of this taping, it is approaching Halloween. And if you go on the Transfiguring Adoption website, we are going to have some new kid book reviews that are going to be good for you to read to your foster or adoptive children around Halloween. The first book that we have is, whoops, knocking over stuff on my desk, and that's not what I meant to do. The book that we just put up there is called The Dark by Lemony Snicket and illustrated by John Clanson, and it's a great book to help you talk to your kiddos about their fear of the dark and get that started. So all of that groundwork laid aside, and I want to get in and talk with these ladies because they're the ones that you came to hear. And again, we're talking about planning for successful holidays. So ladies, good evening. And I just want to have the first question thrown out to you be, can you introduce yourselves, who you're with, what do you bring to the table professionally tonight? Why do people need to be listening to you? So Margie, I'll go ahead and start with you, and Elizabeth, I'll go over to you next.
All right, I'm Margie Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. I am the adoptive mom of 4 kids out of foster care. I have a background in psychology, and I've done a lot of social work and teaching professionally. And we've survived now through 8 sets of holidays with our kids. I actually wrote a whole blog series, a 5-part blog series on surviving the holidays, and that's also on our website, with a lot of my thoughts on what the holidays are like with kids who've experienced trauma and kind of how to successfully manage them. So.
All right, and Elizabeth, before you go in and introduce yourself, I do see that we have one viewer there, and I forgot to mention to everyone that we will be answering questions afterwards, and you're definitely going to want to get Elizabeth questions and Margie questions. If you want us to answer your questions, please tweet Transfiguring Adoption and use the hashtag #TAdopt. That's T as in Tom, adopt. You can also use the same hashtag on Facebook, or you can feel free to email us at transfiguringadoption.com. And I'll be checking those as we're talking. That's why you'll see me looking down at the screen. And I will ask these great ladies. So, Elizabeth, tell people what you're bringing to the table professionally.
Thank you. So I am Elizabeth Sutherland, also known as No Ordinary Liz. I have a blog that I started as a way to connect with people, to bring hope, you know, build new relationships, and just simply share my stories and give resources when I can. This is very near and dear to me because I actually grew up in foster care. and then aged out aged out at the age of 18. So I've been on my own since then. So I like to just join and kind of share my advice of what it was like growing up. And then, today, because it's very important that we discuss this. So I'm very glad to be a part of it. So thank you.
All right, and these both of them are sharing the surface facts with you, but I know for a fact that both of them are go-getters, and they are the cream of the crop and very professional. So if you don't know either of these women, you would familiarize yourselves with them and would do better with your parenting and taking care of your kiddos. So thank you so much for being here tonight, ladies. So planning for successful holidays. I just want, let's just break the ice first of all. I want you both to tell us, what is your favorite holiday and what is the favorite tradition that you enjoy around that holiday? Point out, either one of you, just answer as you want.
This makes me think here. I'll go and take that first. I think for me, my favorite holiday is the New Year. And the reason why is I feel like it's a new opportunity to kick off a new year of things that, you as an individual would like to succeed in. And, it's not just your typical weight loss or, you go to the gym more. It's about taking a step further and just really figuring out who you are as an individual. And it kind of gives you, you can plan a whole year to do that. So I really like the New Year. As far as it comes to traditions, it's kind of hard for me, even though I'm 36, not having a family to really call my own. So for me, during the holidays, because it is still a little hard for me because, it's just the holidays. And so I actually pick places and travel to. So like on Christmas, I just like to be somewhere different. So you'll find me, in Asheville, North Carolina, or Nashville, Tennessee. This year, I think I'm going to try to go to Boise, Idaho. So I'm trying to just make my way around the world. So
that's awesome.
That's what I like to do. So it may not be the right thing, but that's what I enjoy.
I think it sounds inventive.
Mm-hmm. That's a hard pick for me. And I'm so bad at thinking on the spot. So I like Christmas. I think as a kid, that was always just some of my favorite memories come from Christmas. My dad died when I was little, and he was often sick. And we would go, my mom and my brother and I would go to a midnight service on Christmas Eve, and we would come back, and my dad, because he was usually too sick, but he would stay home. But while he was home, he would make hot chocolate and cinnamon rolls, so that when we got home, we would eat those, drink the hot chocolate, and go to bed, wait for Santa. So that was, I don't know, it was just some treasured memories.
Very cool.
Good memories. That's what I miss.
Well, hey, let me go into talking about, as a foster father and an adoptive father, I've had my times where I'm sure a lot of caregivers can join in with me in saying that they get excited. They want to make a certain holiday magical for a child that's in their home. They get, whether it be Easter or anything else, they get excited about it. And then as it gets closer to the holiday, things like the child might have be a little bit more anxious or a little bit more irritable than normal. And as the parent, you're wondering, well, why are they getting so upset? We're about to do all this fun stuff. What do you guys, what is going on, do you think, with a child around the holidays when you have a foster or maybe a new adoptive child in your home? what's happening with these kiddos?
Well, I think from my perspective, it's you know, it's a holiday, so that means, you know, family comes in, visits each other, and you bring in a new child into your home around that time, and it's like these people are foreign to them, so they don't know anything about them. You know, their traditions, they don't know how they fit in. So I think that might be a key part into why they kind of just shut down. And you know, it's hard. I mean, especially around Christmas. I think Christmas is one of the toughest holidays, because if a child is in your home and you have other children, and say for whatever reason you get, you know, your children a certain gift, a bigger gift, and the kid opens it up in front of the foster child, it can make it can make the child feel very, very unwelcome, you know, because they're going to feel like they're not special enough. Why didn't I get that? So one of my biggest advices is, if you do that, have the child open up the gift in a different room, so that the foster child doesn't feel obligated or left out. So
Very cool. So it's rough because children can feel left out with all this family stuff going on.
Yes, it's hard. I mean, it could be for any unconcerned, unforeign reasons, really, and it's just sad that these kids feel that way. But they should be really included into the traditions that the families have.
Is there anything that a family ever did that helped you to feel included? Or what are things? Go ahead.
I think for me, it was just hard. Like when you go into a home, I think you're still trying to process what is a foster home, and why am I not in my own home? And so you're processing all of that, and then you're around all these people. And I mean, some of these homes have more than, one or two children in it. So it could be 5 or 6 kids. So for me, because I went into care a lot older, it was like, how with all these kids in this home, how do you have time to take the time to know me, like get to know what I want? So it makes it hard, because you just want to shut down.
Yeah, for sure. So it's easier for kiddos to shut down because there are so many other kids, and how are you going to take? Yeah, I can definitely see that. So there's that. So what I'm hearing is maybe there's that thought in their head that I'm just another number. I'm just another kid. I don't really belong here.
But I think the parents need to do a lot more than, when the child comes in, take the time to get to know the child. And because that way, once you take that time, it doesn't matter how many kids come in your home, these kids will learn to respect you more if you do that, versus just saying, 2 or 3 words to them.
Margie, what are things that you've seen from the parent perspective? What's going on with kiddos around holiday time? Where, again, I'll reiterate, because we kind of lost you there for a second.
I'm sorry, my internet totally crashed on me. So,
well, what's going on with these kiddos from your perspective, as you're getting really excited for something, and you think they're going to be getting really excited about it, and then all of a sudden they get more irritable, they get more depressed. It's the opposite of what you expected.
Well, we've seen several different things at play. One being emotions, and just kind of like the conflicting emotions during the holidays, because you've got obviously birth family memories and traditions. You've got the new stuff going on. There's kind of, you can have some of that conflicting emotion of, hey, I'm enjoying being with these people, but I really miss these people, and I miss so there can be a lot of emotions going and conflict internally. So we've done a lot to try and include birth family, even if it's a phone call, you know, and trying to honor some of our kids' birth family traditions in any way possible, kind of creating new traditions together. And then another thing we've seen just with everybody is managing our expectations, and really talking through expectations, because you know, when you're thinking, a child is thinking something's going to happen a certain way, it helps to really prep everybody and talk about what it's going to be like, and then just keeping things low key, because of sensory issues or special needs, or just life in general. It's for kids who've come from trauma, a lot of times it's too much to do. It's better if you keep things low key. I'll just say that.
Okay. So as you're keeping things low key, you're you have kids that might be getting overwhelmed, that might be looking at things, they're feeling isolated. Can you both, what are, I guess, some key things that parents need to, I mean, you've already mentioned some key things they need to be watching out for, but I guess, Liz, what, especially I'm interested from your background, since you aged out of the system, what are things that people can do besides talking with their kids and getting to know them? Is there any chance that they'll enjoy the holidays then? Like,
Yeah,
is there anything that a parent can do?
I think so. For me, you know, it's been different because, and it's so funny because like when I turned 18 and I was on my own for like the first year, it was really foreign to me, but I was like, how do I do this thing called life? And for the holidays, and it's just terrible that I'm going to say this, but I would get me a Christmas tree and I would put so many lights on it that I possibly could. And I would actually set up camp and I would sleep under my tree. Because to me, it felt like it was like a tradition. It was like, this is my Christmas, you know, even if I'm by myself, this was me doing me, you know, the best way I knew how. And I don't know if it's because you feel alone anyway, or when you're in care, you just don't get that extra attention that you may need. So some of these kids may just feel like they're going to, you know, they need to isolate themselves just to make themselves happy because they know no one else can do that for them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But for me, like I would for the first couple of years, that would be my tradition, is like sleeping under the Christmas tree, and wondering what my life was about. And, you know, it is sad, unfortunately, that I think that, but yeah. It's just...
Is there anything, let me go a step further. Is there anything that you think that a parent could have done in the past that would have changed the direction?
Yes. Well, I mean, I was in and out of multiple group homes and foster homes, so it does make it hard to just decide, where do I fit in? Where do I call home? And I think to begin, that's the first step. I mean, when you think of Christmas, you know, you want to be around people. It's a time for joy and happiness. And when you're in a home and you're being moved around, it's kind of hard to just do that. So I never got that feeling.
So it sounds like, if I could say, it sounds like you were on survival mode for a lot of the time then. Like you were just worried about, it wasn't, everyone else was worried about enjoying a holiday, and you were trying to figure out, okay, how do I make it to the next day, the next minute? What am I going to do? Because
how can I enjoy the holiday if I'm at somebody's house that I don't know, you know? But for parents, it's like I mentioned earlier, I think the best way to get these children to feel like they belong in your home is just to take the time to listen to them, you know? It's very important that you just show them and let them be emotional if they need to be emotional, because if these kids do that, then it's going to help build that barrier that's between you and the child, and it's going to help bring each other closer eventually, because they know they know they can rely on you.
Now, when you say emotional, I know that there are a lot of parents or caregivers that are, or even people that are just interested in foster care and adoption that are watching this. And they're thinking, you're tugging at their heartstring right now, because I know they're thinking, I want to help someone like Elizabeth. But when you say emotional, does that also mean that the kid might be getting angry?
They could. It just depends on their situation as to why they're, you know, they, one minute they could be in their biological home, and then the next minute, you know, they're in this foreign home. So it's like they're trying to process everything. And so as a parent, it's just, you need to just take a step back and just, you know, take time to get to know the child, because, you know, physically, emotionally, whatever it is, and body language, you can tell a lot by a child's body language. So give them the space if they need the space. But, you know, and ask them, like if they're in your home around the holidays, and it's some, you know, some of them may not practice certain holidays. So you have to just, you know, be mindful of that, because they may not know how to feel or what to do in a situation when they're not even ever been exposed to it. So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Hey, Margie, so I'm curious from a foster adoptive parent side. So I'm sure that you've seen kiddos get emotional around the holidays. What do you do then? Like, if we're talking about planning for successful holidays, how does that look from the parent side? How do you let that play out?
I'd say, you know, I think a lot of times people get nervous about talking about things. I hear from a lot of adoptees and former foster youth that their caregivers didn't, you know, they shut down certain conversations and stuff. And I think that's a mistake. I think we definitely need to honor the kids' feelings, validate them, acknowledge their feelings, you know, talk about their birth family, you know, ask them how they're feeling. Definitely, you've got to.
But Margie, that's uncomfortable for people. What you're talking about could get sticky, it could get messy, it could be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, we're adults. We can handle uncomfortable. The kids are so much more uncomfortable. It's crazy to think, you know, as an adult, if you think, okay, you know, a week before Christmas that your house burns down, your entire family dies, and you're put up with some people that you don't know. And for an adult to try and imagine that, and how they would process that and how they would feel, I think a lot of times we don't put ourselves in that like mindset of what are these kids going through, and understanding that, so what if you're uncomfortable? That's, you know,
Yeah.
we as the grown-ups need to deal with that. And, you know, some of it might be hurtful. And we've got to take that, and we've got to understand that, you know, a lot of it is the kids trying to survive, and we might feel rejected or we might feel hurt by what they say, but, you know, we need to learn not to take that personally, and that's really hard. But, you know.
Well, and to your point, you know, sometimes these kids may say hurtful things to you, but maybe that's what they're accustomed to. And if you don't fight back or argue back, that kind of lowers, it kind of pulls away the onion, you know, just a little bit. Because then they know, hey, I just lashed out on you, but you're not lashing back at me, you know. So it's kind of like you're letting their guard down a little bit because you're doing that. And so for me, the other thing too that I want to mention, maybe the other reason why kids get very emotional, and it did for me as well, was because, you know, I was very close to my siblings. And then when I went into foster care, we got split up. So if your sibling is the only family you have and you're so close to them, and then all of a sudden you take that away, you know, and then with holidays coming around, they have that emotion because they want to be with their siblings or family. So that is another key indicator that possibly might be affecting the child.
Well, I'm hearing both of you talking about, oh, I'm sorry, Margie, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think in one of my blogs, I think part 3 was managing relationships, and I talked about siblings some, because we have kiddos in our house that are separated from siblings, and I feel like as the caregivers, we need to do everything in our power. Like I said, right now, I mean, we have kids with their siblings are overseas because that's where their adoptive family lives. So, you know, but there's Skype, there's phones, there's different ways to make sure that they're able to keep in contact and to keep those lines of communication open and let them connect. It's really important. I mean, we don't live by our family, and on holidays, you know, what do we all do? We talk to, you know, make phone calls. Well, we need to add another phone call to the list. And it's something important. We got to do it.
Well, I'm hearing both of you talking about things looking a little different, I guess, because Liz, like you were, I actually enjoyed, like you're talking about being under a Christmas tree as a tradition. I think it's creative. And Margie, you're talking about, you know, things being uncomfortable, and you're just going to have to face the uncomfortableness, no matter what holiday it is. This also probably all includes birthday celebrations too. So what are ways that parents that are watching this right now, what advice would you give them for making holidays different than the typical family?
I would just say I'm sorry?
No, I was gonna say, let me know if that made sense.
No, it did. But I would say try to get creative. You know, first off, like, and I keep saying this because it's so important, get to know the child, because for his birthday, for her birthday, how are you going to know what kind of gifts they want for Christmas without taking time to get to know the kid? And I think also for parents, it's understand too their background. You know, where are they from, the culture, you know, because that's going to play a lot on, you know, the impact for the child. So those are 2 keys for me as far as trying to, or well, 3, because the creativity, you could really have some fun with that. And who says there's a right way? Who, you know, for the traditions, there's no set way to celebrate a holiday. You know, it's all about the fun and making sure everyone's engaged and just feel a part of your family, no matter how.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important, you know, prepping, making sure everybody knows what's going to happen when, you know, you can do some social skills practice or just practice. I was reading one time about a family, they didn't realize that the child had never opened a present. You know, so there's things you can do beforehand to kind of practice and to prepare, but then also just lowering your own expectations as the adult. And maybe, you know, maybe if you have a new kiddo, it's not a good idea to go to a huge extended family celebration, or, you know, cut it short, or, you know, keep it low key just with your immediate family at home. You know, it's more important that you kind of don't end up having a bad day because everybody's just having, you know, sorry, I'm tired and I'm having a hard time with the words. But, you know, if you've got a child with a lot of sensory things and you go to 5-hour extended family celebration, there's all this different stuff going on, and it ends in a meltdown and everybody goes home upset, that's not going to be good. And that's not establishing great memories. So just kind of setting the bar low and keeping things low key, and knowing the child, knowing what they can handle, knowing what you can handle is really important.
I think something you both hit on there too I like that idea of expectations, and just Liz, you had said well, what is the right way anyways? Like, what is there a right way to do a tradition? And then Margie, you were talking like about setting the bar low. I think, what do you both think are the expectations of a child, of a foster or adoptive child for the holidays? And what do you think parents' usual expectations are?
So, I mean, and I'm just going to put this out there, maybe for children, they want the gifts, you know, they want to feel special. And like when you get gifts for your birthdays, you know, Christmas or any other traditions, it's a sign, it's a way to show, hey, you care, you matter, you know. And so, and also it's all about the type of gifts. Like if you get gifts that you know is not anything these kids are going to want, that also says a lot too. For me, I know I've been in the past, it's like you'll be invited to places because people just feel obligated that you need to be there. And then when there's gifts, and it's just a thought, really. I really want to, emphasize that it really is just a thought that counts. But it's just takes some time to really, again, and I keep reiterating this, to get to know the child's and their personalities, what they need, and you know, be there for them.
Margie, do you have anything on that?
Sorry, I blanked on the question.
What are the expectations that children usually have for holidays, and what are the expectations that parents are usually having for the holidays?
Well, I think sometimes, I know I'm bad about, like, I just picture this holiday in my head of, we're going to make cookies, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it doesn't always happen that way. And I know, like, we've started practicing with our kids, like, with expectations. Say we're going to go on a little trip. And we know, like, we had one trip we took as a family, and we knew it was going to be a short trip. And we knew that that meant that not everybody was going to, we were going to amusement park, not everybody would necessarily get to ride what they wanted to ride when they wanted to ride it, or just different things. And so we started calling it the unfair trip. We said, do you guys want to go on this trip? Do you not want to go? It's going to, we really laid out, like, it's going to be really fast. We're probably not going to get to do everything that you want to do. And we sat down and we started just exploring, what are your expectations for this trip? What do you think is going to happen? And then that was a good way for us to figure out, like, okay, so so-and-so said, we're going to ride this ride 10 times. Well, obviously that wasn't realistic. So it was really important to kind of say, okay, well, that's not going to happen. And so we've talked about that even with gifts, if we're talking about gifts. Okay, so someone is convinced they're getting a Xbox or something. Well, if we know as the caregivers that's not going to happen, let's not wait until Christmas morning or birthday or whatever, and then having everything kind of go down the drain because someone's disappointed. Just kind of really setting out those expectations beforehand, and then, you know, saying, okay, what is one thing that you really want to happen, and how can we make that happen? So kind of exploring expectations, setting realistic expectations, trying to stay as close to normal routine as possible is really big. Letting the kids know what's coming, and then teaching them how to deal with disappointment has been kind of really vital in any kind of special day in our house, just kind of going through those things to make sure that we have success.
Well, I'm going to remind, we have visitors that are, or viewers that are watching us that I see. Welcome. If you're watching live with us, I'm also have this on Facebook Live, and it's on our YouTube channel. So however you're watching it, if you want to ask these two great ladies your questions. The topic is planning for successful holidays with your foster or adoptive family. You can ask them your questions on Facebook Live. Just comment and I will see your question and get it over to them. If you want to tweet or use Facebook with the hashtag #TAdopt, that's T as in Tom, adopt, or you can email info@transfiguringadoption.com. I will get your questions and get it out to these ladies and they can answer anything that you have, but we're going to be taking questions here in a moment. I have one more question I'd like to ask them, and then we're going to get to some questions. But again, if you're on Facebook Live watching us, go ahead and just comment your questions, and I'll get it over to Liz and Margie. But so for both of you, I'm going to give you a couple scenarios for a holiday. And without thinking about it too hard, just to let people get to know you a little bit, I want you guys to answer which choice you would choose. So. Okay. Around the Thanksgiving, so around Thanksgiving holiday, would you rather be facing the crowds of Black Friday, or would you rather be at home watching a movie?
At home watching a movie.
Depends on the day. I'm always trying to make the dollars stretch, so I like going out on Black Friday. I don't necessarily like the crowds. So I'd probably actually really rather be at home watching a movie. But if the kids really need clothes, sometimes it's more beneficial to be out on Black Friday.
All right, let's move over to Easter. So there's Easter dinner, deviled eggs or chocolate bunny?
That's hard. Can't have both. I'm just kidding.
No, you have to choose one.
I would have to go with deviled eggs. I do love some eggs.
I would have to go with deviled eggs too. And actually the last couple of years we started making them like fancy. One of our kiddos loves deviled eggs. And so we've started, like, for holidays, that's a huge thing. And on Easter, we make them look like chicks. So we use little olives for the eyes and like cut up carrot for the feet and the nose. And that was just, I got a recipe for deviled eggs that everybody loves off of Pinterest. And we do that. And for like all the holidays now.
You gotta love Pinterest.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move over to St. Patrick's Day. Do you go with the crowd and wear green, or are you unique and forget everyone?
I go with the crowd. I do love to wear as much green. And I'm one of those, if you don't have green on, I'm going to pinch you.
I'd say I go with the crowd too. I'm like 3/4 Irish, so I like to wear my green, if I remember.
Birthdays, cake or ice cream?
Oh. See, I love red velvet cake, so I have to go with cake.
I'm all about the cake, especially the icing. I mean, you could pretty much just leave the cake out.
Okay.
Now, for red velvet, is it the cream cheese icing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Christmas. Do you have gingerbread men or a candy cane?
Lots of candy canes. For me, I love candy canes.
Yeah, I like the different flavored ones. Not so much with the traditional like minty stuff, but more the Starburst or like random flavors.
They're getting very creative with them.
The cherry ones. Yeah, I like cherry a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me check here one more time. If you have any questions, please send them in on our Twitter or Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, whoops, you can see everything that I'm doing right now because I forgot that forgot on my Facebook Live, they can see everything I'm doing on my computer. Let me refresh on my phone here. You could only see me on this side, you guys. So we do have one question in here. and it looks like it's from a foster mom that's evidently had her kiddo for a couple years, just wanting advice on her foster daughter. It seems like she's very weepy around Christmas and wanting to call her mom all the time. She just wants any advice you guys can give on how to comfort her, or how do you comfort her during Christmas wanting to be with her mom so bad?
Well, I think, I mean, you know, these children come from, they come from different backgrounds, and they're so accustomed to, you know, their mom or their dad in most cases. And so again, when you take them away from that and, you know, into a new home, it's just take the time to get to know your child. Because I keep saying this, but, you know, if she's upset, you know, let her be upset, but let her call her mom. In some cases you may not be able to. But I would let her talk to her mom as much as she can. But as a foster parent, you know, try to figure out a way to make her feel comfortable around you, your family. And it's just it probably will take time. I mean, that's the advice I can give from my point of view.
Anything you want to add, Margie?
It's hard to say without knowing more the situation, but definitely honoring, acknowledging those feelings, talking about it. You know, if she wants, age appropriate, whatnot, if she needs to be held, if she doesn't want to be held, if she needs alone time, you know, just really asking her, what do you need? And a lot of times kids will surprise you with, you know, just, they know what they need. A lot of times they might even surprise themselves. You know, what do you need? What's going to help you to deal with this? You know, whether that's what's a tradition, what's something your mom did that we can incorporate into our house. You know, definitely allowing her to talk if that's something you can do to her mom. But yeah, I'd say talking to her, asking her what's going to help her.
Okay, and I have one more here, and it looks like this is from an adoptive parent. Not a whole lot of information here. Basically, paraphrasing though, so basically, I guess that they've been watching, if they feel like they've been doing holidays wrong, according to what they've been listening to you two, and they're feeling bad about, like, I guess how they want to know what do they do if they've messed up?
There's no messing up, and like I mentioned before, there's no right way for a holiday. You know, I mean, it's how you do things in your house. It's, you know, don't change it any differently. It's, you know, bringing a child into your home is a hard thing, because I mean, you don't know these kids, but that's the opportunity to get to know them. And when you say that you're doing it wrong, do not, because these are just our experiences, or mine. And it's just, you know, this is what happened to my life. This is how I felt. But these children, you know, at the end of the day, they just want to feel like they're a part of something. And because, you know, they're faced with life as it is, and then coming into the system, that's a whole nother aspect that they have to just try to figure out and, you know, maneuver through. So having individuals that's constant in their life and just being there for them and just talking to them and asking them what they want and what they need will make all the difference in the world. So please don't feel like, you know, watching this video is you're doing anything wrong, because actually you're doing something right, because you're an adopted parent. And so I personally thank you for being, you know, open and taking a child in.
And I have to say, you know, as adoptive parents, a lot of time, and foster parents, there are a lot of times where We feel like we're doing things wrong. And we went to a family camp of adoptive and foster families. And one of the therapists said something that we all she said, he was talking about how so many parents she deals with are talking about their regrets, talking about things they're doing wrong, and a lot of, we should be doing this, we should not be doing this, we should be doing this, we should. And she said, you've got to stop shoulding on yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's true, we have to stop beating ourselves up. Another thing that Dr. Karen Purvis out of, with the Texas Christian University Institute for Child Development, she's got decades of experience working with foster and adoptive kids around the world, and does a lot with the neuroscience and a lot of great strategies. She recently passed away, and it's very sad. She was talking one time about how when we do mess up as caregivers, in the brain, the pathways for attachment and stuff, when we mess up, if it's something we need to go to our child and correct, if it's something that you feel like you've done wrong and you need to go and say to them, there's actually, if we did everything right all the time, it takes so long, for the attachment, the bonding, the neuroscience, all of that stuff to work. But there's actually something that happens when the bond is broken and then brought back together through repair. So if you go to your child and say, hey, I messed this up, I want to do better, it actually creates a stronger bond. And she had a great scientific or, more eloquent way of saying that. But just be encouraged that, if there's something you need to work on, then just work on it. And you can't live your life saying all this, and I'm preaching to myself here. We've got to just do the best we can by our kids and work to, as there are so many things that Darren and I look back and we know we did wrong, where we could have been doing something better in terms of attachment and bonding, or, just parenting techniques that, we thought we were doing right. And then later we learned that, maybe for the typical child, but not for a child who's been through trauma, that, timeout's not necessarily a good thing, and so we just have to go back and work towards doing it better next time. So
there's a saying I always repeat at the end of the day is, did I give it all I got for the day? And it doesn't matter what I did I give it 110% or 100%? And if I can answer yes, then that's all you can do. So I don't think you're doing anything wrong. And please do not think that, listening to this, that we're making you feel that way, because we definitely don't want that. Just know that, you're giving it all that you can. And just take it one day at a time.
Those are the only questions that we have in right now. So, and I am going to honor Liz and Margie's time. It's a Friday evening right now, and they do have things they need to get done. And I really appreciate both of you being able to spend time with us, answer some of our questions. If you have more questions for Margie or Liz, please send them over to Transfiguring Adoption, email info@transfiguringadoption.com, and please put planning successful holidays or simply holidays in the subject line, so I know that you are wanting to get the question to them, and they would probably, I'm assuming both of you would be happy to email them. I didn't ask you beforehand, but I'm sure both of them would be happy to give you some advice and suggestions. That's all that I have questions and time for right now. Thank you so much for watching with us. We will have another discussion panel next month. We don't have the topic or the professionals lined out yet, but please keep watching our website at www.transfiguringadoption.com. Be sure to check out Liz's blog site at noordinaryliz.com, correct?
Yes, correct.
Be sure to check that out because you're going to glean a lot of information from that, from her blog as well. And don't forget, when we taped this, Halloween was just around the corner. So be sure to go on our website and check out our latest book review on, let's see if I can get it in there, The Dark by Lemony Snicket, which is going to help you get into a great conversation about being scared of the dark and what you can do with overcome that. So thanks again. This is Transfiguring Adoption. I hope that we're helping to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family.